What happens when the man who built 9 stores from scratch walks into one of them at midnight, disguised as a rookie cleaner, and no one knows he's the boss? Austin Ellery stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror of the cheap motel across the street. A scruffy beard, baggy uniform, and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. Perfect. No one would recognize him. Most of his employees had never even seen his face. The company had grown too fast. 9 locations in 4 years, stores that supplied cleaning services to offices and small businesses. Each store had its own manager, and a district manager floated between them. Austin had stayed focused on expansion, not day-to-day operations. But something had been eating at him. 3 stores had seen a jump in worker complaints lately, especially Store 5. Turnover was high, and customer reviews mentioned missed spots and poor service. He couldn't ignore it anymore. He needed to see it for himself. No managers. No prepared tours. Just him, undercover, working a night shift. He took a deep breath, grabbed the mop and bucket he'd brought with him, and crossed the street. Inside Store 5, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The smell of bleach hit him hard. A woman in her late 40s, with sharp eyes and a clipboard, marched over. "You the new guy?" she barked. Austin nodded. "Yeah. Name's Tony. About time. I'm Supervisor Marlene. You listen to me, you'll do fine. You don't? You'll be scrubbing toilets with a toothbrush." Austin blinked. Was she serious? He forced a nod. "Clocking over there," Marlene said, pointing to a rusty punch machine. "Then get your mop. You're starting in the upstairs offices. And don't let me catch you slacking." Austin headed for the machine, pretending to fumble with it. His heart pounded. He hadn't been a cleaner in years. He owned the whole place, but tonight he was just another guy trying to survive the shift. The other cleaners shuffled around without much talking. Austin noticed a young woman with long brown hair neatly tied back. She offered a tiny smile as she passed him a fresh mop. "Hang in there," she whispered. "Thanks," Austin said under his breath. "What's your name?" "Paige Jenkins," she said quickly before scurrying off toward the bathrooms. Austin made a mental note. Something about her seemed different, like she actually cared. He got to work, mopping the upstairs hallways. It wasn't glamorous, but he didn't mind. What he did mind was the way Marlene stomped around, barking orders like a drill sergeant. "Move faster, Tony," she snapped, arms crossed. "You're slower than molasses." He bit his tongue. He'd seen tough supervisors before, but this felt over the top. An hour into the shift, he heard voices down the hall. "You missed a spot," Marlene screamed at a teenage boy who looked barely old enough to be working. "I'm sorry," the boy said, voice shaking. "I'll fix it." "No, you'll stay 15 minutes after shift, unpaid, scrubbing the dumpster area," she snapped. "Maybe that'll teach you to pay attention." Austin froze. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Punishments? Unpaid extra work? That was illegal and cruel. The boy's eyes filled with tears, but he just nodded and turned back to his mop. Austin's stomach twisted. He had built this company to give people jobs they could feel good about, not to treat them like garbage. He glanced around. No cameras. No managers. Nobody to stop it. Until now. He clenched his fists, feeling the first surge of anger rise. But he couldn't blow his cover yet. He needed to see more. He needed evidence. By 2 in the morning, Austin had seen enough to make his blood boil. Paige worked hard, helping others without being asked. She even covered for a coworker who looked too tired to finish. Meanwhile, Marlene strutted around, barking insults, handing out punishments like a playground bully. She even forced one of the older cleaners to redo an entire floor because she claimed it wasn't shiny enough. Austin struggled to stay quiet, but every time he saw someone's shoulders sag under Marlene's words, it got harder. During a short break, Austin found Paige sitting alone on a crate, sipping water from a battered bottle. "You okay?" he asked, sitting down beside her. She gave a sad laugh. "Yeah, just the usual. Marlene's been like this forever. Last week, she made Rosa clean the employee bathroom with a toothbrush because she missed a corner." Austin's jaw tightened. "Has anyone told the store manager?" Paige shrugged. "Manager's barely here. He just counts the money and leaves." And the district manager? He only shows up when there's a big client visit. Austin nodded slowly, heart sinking. He had trusted his managers to run things properly. He had been wrong. You ever think about leaving? He asked. Every night, Paige said quietly. But I need the paycheck. My little brother's starting college this year. Someone's gotta help him. Austin felt something twist deep in his gut. Good workers like Paige were getting crushed under bad leadership, all while he sat comfortably in a corporate office. Not anymore. He stood up, his decision made. Tonight, he would see this through. But tomorrow? Tomorrow, everything would change. Austin wiped the sweat from his forehead as he pushed open the heavy metal door leading to the back alley. The air was cool and sharp, a relief from the chemical stale heat inside. Dumpsters lined the cracked pavement, and a few broken light bulbs buzzed overhead, casting long shadows. He wasn't out here for a break. He needed to clear his head and figure out how deep the rot had spread. Inside, Marlene's voice carried through the stairwell, barking at someone again. Paige had gone back to her station without complaint, but Austin noticed the slight limp in her step, probably from moving heavy equipment hour after hour with no real support. He wasn't going to let this keep happening. A loud crash echoed from somewhere near the loading dock. Austin turned and jogged over, finding one of the younger workers, maybe 17 or 18, kneeling on the ground, trying to stack a toppled pile of supply boxes while holding his wrist awkwardly. You all right? Austin asked, crouching beside him. The kid winced. Dropped the boxes. Marlene's gonna kill me. Austin helped him lift the box back onto the pallet. Forget Marlene. You hurt your wrist? A little, he mumbled. Austin studied him. His name tag read Luis. His sleeves were too short and his shoes looked like they had holes in them. Probably couldn't afford replacements. You need to report that, Austin said firmly. If you're hurt at work, they have to file it. Luis shook his head quickly. She said if we report injuries, we'll get written up for carelessness. Austin's jaw clenched. He stood, helping Luis to his feet. Go wash up. I'll handle these. Luis hesitated, looking over his shoulder toward the door like Marlene might catch him slacking. Only after Austin nodded firmly did he limp away. Austin stacked the rest of the boxes in silence, the weight of the night settling heavier on his shoulders. Fear, intimidation, injury cover-ups. How had it gotten this bad while he was busy opening new locations? When he returned inside, Marlene was leaning against the supply closet door, scrolling on her phone. Not working, not supervising, just lounging. Tony, she snapped when she spotted him. Took you long enough. Go clean the executive office upstairs. And don't touch anything important. Austin gave a tight nod. He had no intention of letting her know he'd seen her doing nothing. The executive office was larger than he expected. Plush carpet, deep mahogany desk, a leather chair that probably cost more than some employees' monthly rent. The irony wasn't lost on him. Workers were scrubbing floors until their knees gave out, and this was where management sat, sipping lattes and ignoring it all. He dusted quickly but carefully, taking mental notes. A framed photo on the desk showed a man in his 40s wearing a suit and sunglasses, arm around a woman in designer clothes. Probably the store manager, Craig, if Austin remembered the name correctly. A few minutes later, heavy footsteps echoed from the stairwell. Craig himself lumbered into view, tie askew and cheeks flushed. Who are you? He asked, voice slurred slightly. Tony. New hire, Austin said, keeping his head down. Craig waved a hand dismissively. Whatever. Just don't steal anything. He dropped into the leather chair, pulling out a silver flask and taking a long swig. Austin kept dusting, pretending not to notice. But inside he was boiling. The store manager, drunk on site during a shift, while employees were terrified to even take a break. Craig leaned back, feet on the desk, and laughed to himself. Idiots don't even know how good they have it. Minimum wage and they still complain. Austin kept his mouth shut. He needed to see more. Craig reached for his phone, dialing someone. Yeah, babe. Nah, I'm still at work. Boring as hell. Bunch of losers cleaning toilets. No, I don't actually do anything. That's what Marlene's for. Austin's stomach turned. He finished dusting and backed out of the office without a word. Downstairs, the atmosphere was even worse. Marlene had gathered everyone in the break room for a team meeting. Listen up, losers, she barked, flipping a clipboard onto the table. Starting next week, we're cutting shifts by an hour. Corporate says we need to increase efficiency. So get faster or get out. Murmurs rippled through the room. Paige's face tightened. Luis kept his eyes on the floor. Austin stepped closer, heart pounding. This wasn't a corporate directive. He would know. Marlene was making cuts to make her own numbers look better. An older man with a thick mustache raised his hand timidly. But we already barely finish in time, Marlene cut him off. Not my problem. Work smarter, not harder. Austin gritted his teeth. Enough. He stepped forward, clearing his throat. Excuse me. Marlene turned, eyes narrowing. What, Tony? Got something to say? He straightened to his full height. Yeah, I do. Before anyone could react, he reached up and pulled off his cap. The room fell silent. I'm Austin Ellery, founder and owner of Clean Break Services. Marlene's smirk evaporated. Craig, who had stumbled downstairs behind him, froze mid-step. Austin let the silence stretch. He scanned the room, meeting each pair of stunned eyes. I spent the last 6 hours working beside you. I saw everything, he said, voice steady. The threats, the punishments, the injuries ignored, the verbal abuse, the lies about corporate policy. Marlene opened her mouth, but Austin cut her off with a sharp look. You're both done, he said, pointing at Marlene and Craig. Effective immediately. Pack your things and leave. Craig sputtered. You can't watch me, Austin said coldly. Marlene's face turned red, but she didn't argue. She knew she was caught. As they slunk away, Austin turned back to the group. You deserved better than this, he said, softer now. I built this company to create opportunities, not sweatshops. Paige raised her hand hesitantly. What happens now? Austin nodded. First, everyone gets paid for tonight in full, plus a bonus for what you've endured. Starting tomorrow, we're bringing in a new interim manager, someone from my personal team. There will be no more unpaid work, no more intimidation, and no more cuts without real cause. A few people exchanged glances, still unsure if they could trust him. Austin wasn't finished. I'll be back every week, unannounced. Different shifts, different stores. If anyone sees something wrong, you tell me directly. No fear of retaliation. I'm giving you my personal number on a card before you leave tonight. Paige stepped forward. Are you serious? As serious as it gets, Austin said. No one should have to come to work scared. The room remained silent for a moment. Then Luis, still cradling his wrist, stepped forward too. Thank you, he said, voice cracking. Austin gave a small nod. You're welcome. And you, he added, turning to Luis, are getting medical attention tonight, on the company's dime. Luis's eyes widened, and a few others looked visibly relieved. Austin looked around the room, feeling the weight of responsibility like a steel vest across his shoulders. It wasn't over. Fixing this was going to take time. Trust would take even longer, but at least now they were starting from the truth. And Austin Ellery wasn't going to look away ever again. Austin leaned against the wall near the supply closet, arms folded, watching the last of the workers file out of the break room. The energy was different now, still cautious, but lighter. Some employees whispered to each other. Others just moved quickly, heads down, as if afraid this new reality could vanish if they acknowledged it too openly. Paige lingered near the time clock, glancing between Austin and the remaining few workers. She hesitated before approaching. What's going to happen with the schedule? She asked carefully, voice low. Austin checked the clipboard Marlene had left behind, flipping past pages scribbled with notes and marks that made little sense. We'll keep the current shifts for now. No cuts. I'll have a few people from corporate rotate in to cover gaps until we hire properly. Paige nodded slowly, processing that. I know it's a lot of change at once, Austin said. I need you to hang in there a little longer. Can you do that? She gave a short, determined nod. If you're serious about fixing it, I'm not going anywhere. I'm serious, Austin said. And I'm going to need people like you to help rebuild. A short, wiry man with graying hair approached, clearing his throat. His name tag read Dennis. Sir, if I may, Dennis said, choosing his words with care. We've been short on supplies for a while. Mops falling apart. Barely enough gloves to go around. Marlene said corporate wouldn't pay for more. Austin's jaw tightened. Thank you for telling me. I'll have a new shipment here by tomorrow night. Dennis dipped his head respectfully and returned to his work, moving with a slight limp that Austin hadn't noticed earlier. He cursed himself silently for how blind he had been. Across the room, Louise sat on a crate cradling his wrist. A woman in her 50s with deep laugh lines around her eyes, her name tag read Sylvia, wrapped it gently with a makeshift bandage torn from a cleaning cloth. Austin walked over and crouched in front of them. You're going to the urgent care clinic as soon as your shift is over, Austin said to Louise. I'll cover the transport and the bill. No paperwork games. Louise looked up, disbelief written across his face. Are you sure? Austin rested a hand lightly on his shoulder. Positive. No one here should have to fight for basic decency. Sylvia smiled faintly, relief visible even through her exhaustion. Maybe things really are changing. They are, Austin said. He stood and addressed the whole room, raising his voice enough to carry. Listen up. I know tonight's been a shock, but starting now we build a new standard. Safe working conditions, respect, real support. And if any of you see something wrong, anything, you bring it straight to me or the new manager coming in tomorrow. Heads nodded slowly around the room. A few people even straightened their posture slightly, the weight of constant fear starting to lift. He checked his watch. 3:30 in the morning. They had 2.5 hours left in the shift. Let's get back to work, Austin said. One step at a time. They moved with a different energy now. It wasn't perfect. Years of mistreatment didn't vanish overnight, but there was a rhythm forming. Paige led a small crew upstairs without needing to be asked. Dennis organized supplies more efficiently. Even Luis, wrist carefully braced, insisted on wiping down tables with his good hand. Austin stayed busy, scrubbing floors alongside them, hauling trash bags out to the dumpsters, restocking paper towels. No one treated him differently. They just treated him like one of their own. And in the end, that was exactly what he wanted. Around 5, as the sky outside began to lighten to a dull gray, the new district operations lead, Melanie Hart, arrived. Melanie was sharp, no nonsense, with close-cropped hair and a clipboard tucked under one arm. Austin had called her the moment he fired Marlene and Craig. She wasn't flashy, but she got results, and more importantly, she treated people right. She stepped through the front entrance, surveyed the room, and spotted Austin immediately. You were not exaggerating, Melanie said under her breath as she approached. I wish I had been, Austin replied. They spoke quietly for a few minutes, going over immediate priorities. Melanie would oversee Store 5 personally until a permanent manager could be hired. Hiring processes would tighten up. Employee feedback surveys would be introduced. Anonymous reporting systems would be installed. And every cleaner would get new uniforms, proper safety gear, and enough supplies to do their jobs without scrambling. Melanie scanned the workers still bustling around, many of whom cast uncertain glances in her direction. I'll need to earn their trust, she said. You will, Austin said. Just be honest. No promises you can't keep. She nodded once, firmly. Austin clapped her on the shoulder lightly and turned to address the team one last time. This is Melanie Hart, he said. She's stepping in for now to help fix what was broken. Give her a chance. She's here to work for you, not against you. Paige shifted her weight, studying Melanie carefully. After a beat, she gave a short nod of acknowledgement. Others followed. Austin didn't need a standing ovation. He just needed their willingness to believe change was possible. Melanie handed out laminated cards with emergency contact numbers and a direct line to her office. No middlemen. No filters. As the clock crept towards 6, Austin gathered his things, the battered mop, the stained uniform, and prepared to leave. Paige caught up to him by the door. "You really worked a full shift with us," she said, her voice carrying a mixture of wonder and skepticism. "I had to see it for myself," Austin said. "Couldn't fix what I didn't understand." She shifted the strap of her cleaning belt higher on her shoulder. "Most people at the top wouldn't bother." "I'm not most people," Austin said simply. She smiled, then a real one, small but genuine. "You better not be," she said, and went back to help Sylvia stack chairs. Austin stepped outside into the early morning air. The city was waking up around him, the streets slowly filling with tired commuters and delivery trucks. He pulled out his phone and started drafting a new company-wide policy memo. Not just for Store 5, but for every single location under Clean Break Services. Mandatory undercover shifts for regional managers once a quarter. Anonymous employee surveys reviewed personally by Austin. A zero-tolerance policy for abuse of authority. He could already hear the complaints that would come from some corners of the company. Too much work. Too much oversight. Too much change. He didn't care. Clean Break had been built on hard work, on trust, on the belief that a good company took care of its people. Somewhere along the way, he had let that slip. No more. Austin Ellery wasn't just cleaning floors tonight. He was cleaning house. Austin returned to Store 5 the next evening, wearing his regular clothes this time. Jeans, a gray polo shirt, and a light jacket. No disguise. No mop in hand. Just a notebook tucked under his arm and a sharp focus in his eyes. The fluorescent lights buzzed the same way they had the night before, but the atmosphere inside the store felt different. Workers moved steadily, heads higher, not racing to avoid being yelled at. Melanie stood near the entrance, clipboard in hand, calmly checking off tasks as crews clocked in. "Welcome back," she said as he approached, tapping her pen against the paper. "I've spent the whole day auditing supply orders and reviewing personnel files." Austin nodded. "Anything we need to address immediately?" She flipped a page. "A few things. First, overtime records were falsified under Craig. I've pulled the last 6 months of schedules. Some employees worked extra hours that were never reported to payroll." Austin's jaw tightened. "We'll have accounting issue back pay immediately. Full amount plus a penalty bonus." Melanie scribbled a note. "Second, the training procedures here were almost non-existent. New hires were thrown onto the floor without proper safety instruction." Austin frowned. "We fixed that today. No new hires without mandatory onboarding. Paid time, not off the clock." Melanie's mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but approval. "And one more thing," she said, lowering her voice. "I've noticed Luis favoring his wrist. He insisted on working tonight, but I think he's worried about missing hours." "I'll talk to him," Austin said. He moved through the store carefully, observing without interfering. Paige was mopping the north hallway, her movements efficient but careful. Sylvia and Dennis were reorganizing the supply closet, labeling shelves with fresh tags. Luis was wiping down baseboards near the entrance, slower than the others, his wrist wrapped in a proper bandage now. Austin crouched beside him. "You're doing good work," he said. Luis glanced up, a flash of pride crossing his face. "How's the wrist?" Austin asked. Luis hesitated. "Better. They said it's a mild sprain. Should heal in a couple weeks if I'm careful." "You shouldn't be here tonight," Austin said gently. "You need rest to heal properly." Luis bit his lip. "I can't afford to lose the hours." "You won't," Austin said firmly. "You'll be placed on paid medical leave until the doctor clears you. No exceptions." Luis stared at him, disbelief flickering again. "You earned it," Austin said. "You're part of this team. We take care of our own." Luis blinked rapidly, nodded once, and carefully set down his cloth. Austin stood, scanning the room. The night shift was still short on staff, but Melanie had temporarily reassigned 2 floaters from nearby stores to help. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it gave the team breathing room. A soft commotion near the back caught his attention. He moved quickly, finding a new face arguing with Dennis over cleaning supplies. The man, mid-30s with a buzz cut and aggressive posture, was jabbing a finger into Dennis's chest. "I'm not scrubbing no damn bathrooms," the man said loudly. "That's grunt work." Dennis, ever patient, tried to reason with him. Everyone rotates tasks, he said. It's fair. The man sneered. I'm not everyone. I'm better than this. Austin stepped forward, voice cutting through the tension. Problem? The man turned, sizing him up. Yeah. I don't mop toilets. Get someone else to do it. Austin kept his voice level. What's your name? Brent, he said with a shrug. New hire. Not anymore, Austin said. You're done. Brent's eyes widened. What? You serious? Dead serious, Austin said. We don't tolerate disrespect here. Not to coworkers, not to the job. Brent muttered something under his breath and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Dennis let out a slow breath. Thank you, he said quietly. Austin clapped him on the shoulder. Nobody talks to my people like that. He turned back toward the main floor, spotting Paige struggling to lift a heavy mop bucket up a flight of stairs. Without hesitation, he crossed over and grabbed the handle. Let me, he said. Paige blinked at him, then stepped aside. You don't have to, she said. I do, Austin said simply, hauling the bucket up the stairs. You're different, she said softly. Austin set the bucket down safely at the landing and straightened. I'm just doing what I should have done a long time ago, he said. Later, during the mid-shift break, Austin gathered the team in the break room. A battered coffee pot sat on the counter and a few mismatched chairs were pulled into a loose circle. He waited until everyone was seated before speaking. I owe you more than just new rules and equipment, he began. I owe you an apology. The room went still. I should have been paying closer attention, Austin said. I trusted the wrong people. That's on me. Sylvia leaned forward slightly, hands clasped in her lap. We just want to work in peace, she said quietly. To do our jobs without being scared. You will, Austin said. Starting now, every store will have an employee council. Representatives you choose. They'll meet with me once a month to raise concerns directly. Paige's eyes widened slightly. Really? Really, Austin said. You'll have a voice. Not just when things go wrong, but always. Dennis cleared his throat. Will there be training for supervisors? Yes, Austin said. Mandatory leadership training. Focused on respect, communication, and safety standards. Anyone who refuses doesn't stay with the company. Melanie stepped forward, handing out small packets she had prepared, new safety guidelines, updated reporting procedures, emergency contacts. This is just the beginning, she said. But we're committed. Paige flipped through the papers, her brow furrowed. This is good, she said. But it'll take time. Austin nodded. It will. And it won't be perfect. There'll be setbacks. Mistakes. But we'll fix them together. Luis, sitting with his wrist braced on the table, raised his good hand slightly. Can we suggest new equipment too? Like lighter vacuums? Austin smiled. Absolutely. Write it down. I'll personally review every suggestion. A buzz of low conversation rippled through the room. Hope. Real hope, not just survival. After the meeting, as workers returned to their tasks, Melanie pulled Austin aside. You're setting a high bar, she said. We have to, Austin replied. They deserve it. He stayed until the end of the shift, helping clean, restocking supplies, listening. Not directing from a distance, but working shoulder to shoulder. When the sun finally rose, casting golden light over the cracked parking lot, Austin stood outside with Paige, Dennis, Sylvia, and a few others. You'll be back, Paige asked. Count on it, Austin said. Dennis chuckled softly. You know, I almost quit last month. I'm glad you didn't, Austin said. He watched them head to their cars, tired but not beaten down, carrying their dignity with them. Austin turned toward the store one last time before leaving. The fluorescent lights still buzzed. The building still needed repairs. The work was far from finished. But inside those walls, something important had started to grow again. Respect, trust, pride. Austin walked toward his car, the crisp morning air filling his lungs. He wasn't just running a business anymore. He was leading a community.